Have you noticed how some individuals seem to command the entire atmosphere around them without uttering a single word? They don't raise their voices. They don't beg for attention. They simply pull back. And in that moment, the air shifts. Suddenly, others grow restless. They start questioning, chasing, searching for a response that never comes. Now picture yourself doing exactly that. What if you no longer reacted instantly to everything? What if silence replaced the automatic reply, retreat replaced the eruption? Can you imagine what would happen? That is where the power lies. The moment you step away from constant emotional, physical, and mental availability, the world around you falters, because people have been relying on your predictability, your impulses, your reactions to control you. But the day you decide to withdraw, the entire script changes. Those who thought they knew you realize they never really did. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us in others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Reflect on that. When you pull away, who gets nervous? Who tries to provoke? Who seeks to shake you just to pull an emotion from you? What surfaces is not about you, it's about them. And it reveals something crucial: how much you've been controlled without recognizing it. You keep bending, trying to keep harmony, trying not to lose people who, in truth, were never yours to begin with. Every quick yes, every rushed response, every emotional outburst, you hand away pieces of yourself. And by the end of the day, what remains? Weariness, disappointment, a hollow space you can't explain. I'll tell you why. Because you've given too much of yourself to those who don't even deserve the gift of your silence. This isn't about abandoning everyone. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about what Jung described as individuation. The path of becoming whole, authentic, complete. That path begins when you understand that silence can weigh more than 1,000 words. That retreat, when chosen with awareness, is not weakness, but strength. So let me ask, how much longer will you allow your emotions to be steered by others? How much longer will you respond like a puppet whenever someone pushes your wounds? Maybe it's time to sever those strings, to step away, to embrace the mystery of yourself. Because once you stop being endlessly present, everything shifts. You were trained from childhood to respond quickly, to comply, to agree even when you wanted to refuse. You were conditioned to believe your value is measured by your accessibility. But here's a truth few dare to tell you outright. Over-availability is not a virtue. It's a prison. And as long as you believe you must always be reachable, emotionally, mentally, physically, you'll be used up, drained, and forgotten the moment you're no longer convenient. Do you know why? Because predictability turns you into a tool. People begin to treat you like an emotional emergency switch. They push it when they crave attention, relief, validation, then set you aside when done. You may not notice because you cling to the illusion that being present for everyone ensures someone will be there for you. But that's a false hope. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to be liked, accepted, approved, and it is this very mask that chains you to constant accessibility. You smile and say, "It's fine," while suffocating inside. You answer messages instantly, even though you're exhausted. You over-explain, defend, justify, as if the world is owed your every thought. But here's reality. The more you orbit others' stage, the more you vanish from your own. Being endlessly available is a subtle form of self-betrayal. It's a hidden way of seeking validation, dodging rejection, controlling the image others hold of you. But this control comes at a cost, and that cost is your peace. Your limited, fragile life energy gets scattered as though it were infinite. But it isn't. Those demanding your constant presence don't want you. They want what you provide: comfort, distraction, validation. And when you stop delivering, when you draw a line, when you hold back, they turn critical, they call you strange, they say you've changed. But the truth is, you haven't changed. You've stopped serving them. And here's the cruel irony. The more available you are, the less value you hold. Because what is too abundant becomes disposable. No one respects what they don't have to earn. No one cherishes what is always guaranteed. So pause and ask yourself, who truly deserves your time, your energy, your presence? Or perhaps better, who deserves your absence? But first we need to ask, why do we react so much? Why do we give in so easily? What lies behind this compulsion to respond, to justify, to appease? Jung gave the answer, psychic energy. And that's our next step. Because your energy is your essence. And if you don't learn to guard it, others will use it against you. If this resonates, subscribe to the channel. Jung didn't see the psyche as a machine reacting mechanically. He saw it as an energy system. And every thought, emotion, and act drains a portion of it. The real question is, are you choosing where your energy goes, or letting others decide for you? Each impulsive reaction wastes it. Defending yourself against baseless criticism, answering provocations just to prove yourself, engaging in pointless debates, pleasing those who don't value you. All of this leaks your energy into nothing. Jung said it clearly, what you resist persists. The more you react, the more trapped you become. People who live exhausted aren't weak, they're misdirected. And when you live drained, you grow vulnerable. And vulnerability makes you prey. Manipulative, opportunistic, needy people sense this. They notice you can't guard your energy, that you're reactive, that you're always fixing, always saving, always giving, and they exploit it. Jung believed a healthy psyche is one that conserves its energy within the system. That means learning to say no without guilt, to stay silent without shame, to pause before acting. Because real strength lies not in reacting, but in choosing when and how to act. And this requires knowing yourself well enough to spot your own impulses. How many nights have you lost replaying an unresolved conversation? How many hours spent wondering why someone mistreated you? That is energy slipping away without return. You're feeding ghosts that should have long faded. You're fueling cycles that exist only because you keep responding. Psychic energy works like a shield. Guard it well, and your presence commands respect without words. Mismanage it, and you fade. Reactive, fragile, overlooked. And the world spares no mercy for the easily manipulated. So start watching your triggers. What sparks your automatic reaction? What knocks you off balance? These are the cracks where your energy escapes and where you must work, not to grow cold or detached, but to grow sovereign. And here comes one of Jung's profound insights. The moment you conserve your energy, projections from others begin to collapse. And that unsettles them deeply, because now we're entering the dark ground of silent manipulation. In the next part, we'll explore how opportunists drain your energy and why your refusal to react dismantles their entire game. Prepare to confront the faces of those who've always fed on you without your awareness. You think you're choosing freely, but your reactions are largely programmed, and manipulators exploit this. They don't need to shout, to force, to threaten. They just press the buttons you've left exposed, and you always respond. Jung called this projection, the mechanism by which people throw onto others what they cannot face within themselves. But there's another layer few recognize. While others project, you become the canvas for those projections. The more available you are, the more blank space you provide. Think of the friend who calls only in crisis, the partner who relies on you to rescue them, the acquaintance who praises you only while you serve their needs. None of it is random. They aren't relating to you. They're re-relating to the role you agreed to play. And why do you accept it? Out of fear. Fear of letting them down, of being unloved, of being abandoned. The deepest manipulation isn't loud, it's quiet. It works through guilt. When you feel indebted, when you believe you must be available, must help, must understand, even when it crushes you inside. That's the heart of it. Manipulators don't need to control you. They just need you to keep reacting as usual. But the moment you stop, the illusion shatters. When you begin to say no, to answer with silence, to walk away instead of explaining, the projections crumble, the mask falls, and suddenly they don't know who you are. Worse, They must face themselves, and many cannot bear that. Your absence threatens them because it confronts them with their own emptiness. Your silence mirrors the inner noise they've avoided, and so comes the backlash, accusations, emotional storms, attacks, not because you're wrong, but because you stopped being their mirror. Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you retreat, when you cease fueling the cycle, the other's shadow emerges, and that's unbearable for those who've always hidden inside you. But what about you? Can you endure being misunderstood, rejected, even attacked for protecting yourself? Can you handle the quiet that follows withdrawal? Because within that quiet, a new kind of power is born. And that's where we turn now. In the next part, you'll discover why silence can be the psyche's sharpest weapon, and how it alters every dynamic around you. The modern world is loud, everyone's shouting to be heard, rushing to respond, fighting over trivial debates, sacrificing peace to prove a point. But there's a force almost no one learns to wield, the force of silence. Not passive silence, not fearful silence, but deliberate, sharp, conscious silence. Silence that isn't absence, but amplified presence. Jung saw silence not as empty, but as fertile ground for inner transformation. The moment you stop reacting, you begin to watch, and in watching, patterns surface, repeated dramas, cycles of manipulation, loops of self-sabotage. Silence reveals them all, and clarity terrifies those who've thrived on your confusion. Notice how unsettled some people get when you don't reply, don't explain, don't appear. It isn't longing, it's lost control. Your silence strips away their narrative power. While you argue, you're still trapped in their game. But when you fall silent, you rewrite the rules. That imbalance scares them. Real silence isn't voicelessness. It's mastery of your energy. It's refusing to be dragged by someone else's storm. It's choosing not to fight battles unworthy of your soul. Jung wrote that individuation requires distance, because only in silence can you hear your own truth without interference. But make no mistake, silence costs. It pushes away those who only valued your usefulness. It confuses those who only saw their reflection in you. It makes you look cold, arrogant, detached. But these are merely reactions of those who never wanted your depths, only your service. Here's the raw truth. As you mature, you become sparing with words. You learn that each sentence is energy invested, and not all deserve that investment. Sometimes silence isn't withdrawal, it's sovereignty, the language of those who need no approval. Silence disturbs because it forces others to face themselves, and that discomfort speaks louder than your arguments ever could. You don't have to explain why you're gone. Your absence is explanation enough. Those shaken by it only reveal how much they relied on your chaos. But the deepest silence isn't the one that unsettles others. It's the silence that rebuilds you from within. Silence that reconnects you to something beyond outside validation. In that inner space, free from demand, you restore your strength. And that's our next step. Because cutting out a noise isn't enough. You must learn where to channel your energy, where to invest it, and where to refuse. It's time to become selective with your soul. If you're reclaiming your energy, you'll find value in my book Beyond the Shadow. It explains Jung's ideas in practical ways, giving you tools to protect yourself and set boundaries. Link in the pinned comment. But remember this, knowledge without practice is self-deception. If you keep saying yes while wanting no, answering messages that drain you, staying in lifeless bonds, awareness means nothing. True transformation begins when you choose discipline. Conscious unavailability isn't arrogance. It's refusing to be endlessly open to anyone, at any time, for any reason. It's claiming authority over your own time, energy, peace, and it starts small. Pausing before reacting, ignoring the call to chaos, turning off your phone without guilt, saying, "Not today, I'm not interested, I won't join," and most importantly, You owe no explanation. You owe no justification. You answer only to yourself. For some, that's unforgivable, because when you stop explaining, you strip their control. Jung understood individuation always includes isolation, but not despairing isolation, sacred solitude. A retreat where you relearn your own voice. Want proof of your growth? Watch who distances themselves when you grow quieter. Watch who provokes you when you stop reacting. Watch who accuses you of changing the moment you protect yourself. These aren't signs you're wrong. They're evidence you're free. Being unavailable feels heavy at first. Guilt rises. You fear being selfish. Others say you're too harsh, but that's part of unlearning. You've been trained to place yourself last. Of course, it feels wrong to break the pattern. But conscious unavailability is the ground of self-determination. Saying no to the world is saying yes to yourself. Leaving toxicity is affirming your peace matters more than illusions. Refusing to justify earns you respect, though only from a few. But beware, your absence will expose how much others depended on your chaos. And that is when the rupture arrives. With rupture comes loneliness, estrangement, the illusion of loss. But you're not losing, you're freeing. And after this, what lies beyond silence? What grows in that void? In the final part, we'll speak of the rebirth that arrives when you dare to be misunderstood, alone, and whole. Here's what happens. When you stop being always available, transformation begins. At first, silence feels suffocating. You doubt yourself, wonder if you've been cruel, fear losing those who claim to care. But gradually, silence shifts. It soothes, it cleanses, it heals. Then comes solitude. Not empty solitude, but full presence. The solitude of strength. The solitude of one who no longer betrays themselves to stay connected. And in this space once filled with confusion, clarity arrives. Where there was anxiety, calm emerges. Where there was neediness, new strength rises. The strength of being whole within yourself. Jung said individuation demands leaving the collective, shedding the mask, walking alone for a time. And that is exactly what happens when you step away. You're not fleeing the world, you're returning to yourself. At this point, you stop reacting and start creating. No longer shaped by circumstance, you shape life from within. The people unsettled by your absence prove they never wanted you, only the role you played. And once you refuse, they're lost. That is liberation. You may lose people, but you find yourself. You may leave places, but you reconnect with your essence. You may be misunderstood, but you earn respect. Because the moment you stop being accessible to all, you become rare, precious, unforgettable. This is rebirth. The start of life where you no longer settle for scraps of affection, for manipulations, for hollow bonds. Now you accept only what aligns with your peace, your truth, your wholeness. And if you've listened this far, part of you is already ready. Part of you already knows love means nothing if you must abandon yourself for it. True love begins when you choose yourself, even if it costs solitude. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even disliked in order to claim your inner freedom? Are you prepared to pay the price of being fully yourself? If this message touched you, write, I choose my peace. Let's see how many of you are ready. And don't forget, watch the next video. It matters more than you know. See you there.